How's everyone today? So, this is Tuesday afternoon. Excuse me. About 1:15, and it's funny coming here live to have a conversation and absolutely not having a single thing planned of which to talk about. A little easier the past few days when I knew I was going to talk about the niyamas, or the yamas and the niyamas, the ethical points of yoga, because that would always steer me in the proper direction. So here's the thing. Why don't we head on over in that direction and see where things steer us from there? I think we left off with the uh, third. We covered all the yamas. And remember, the yamas are sort of considered restraints, things that we are um, keeping ourselves from participating within. I've never liked that thought, restraint. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I grew up um, somewhat of a brat and did not like being told what to do by anyone ever, and immediately rebelled. So we don't need to view them as restraints. When we say nonviolence, no one's keeping us from being violent. What it's pointing at is that we derive greater benefit from practicing non-harmfulness than we do by practicing any means of violence. And that includes violence of thought, violence of words, violence of emotion, all of it, whole spectrum. So there we go with um, the first one, the um, Yama moral discipline might be a better way of thinking about it. Sometimes I even had trouble with discipline if it was instilled by someone else on me. Do this. That's the great thing about these yoga observances, that no one's making us do anything. These are suggestions, moral suggestions. If you act this way, if you practice these principles, life is better for you as well as others. If you make life better for others, life is going to be better for you. It's being of service. Greatest gift that we can do in this life. People always think, how am I going to get ahead? What's the secret? How we're going to achieve our dreams or whatever? Be of service. Find a way to be of service. Reason I'm here having these conversations, to be of some type of service. Maybe someone will hear this information for the first time and think, you know what? That's interesting. I need to find out more from a better source. From somebody who has more information than this guy on here talking away. And you know what? You're absolutely right. You will find better information. You will be able to go to a better source and dive into these. All I can do is point. These have been part of my life for ages. It seems like I'm always diving deeper. I'm at this wherever I am now. I hate saying level, but wherever I am now, it'll be deeper in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks. And it's deeper now than it was years ago. That's just the way it works. So with the yamas, we had non-harming, we had truthfulness, we had non-stealing, we had the right use of energy. Like the way I switched that up. A lot of times brahmacharya is viewed as celibacy. And that's a big no, big nah. I ain't gonna do it with so many people, men and women. You don't have to. If you enjoy sex, enjoy sex. But the right use of energy would be indiscriminate, not practicing indiscriminate sex, just for the sake of distraction, for the sake of um, not diving in deeper into our own healing, our own capabilities of what it is to be a human being, our own path of being of service for other people. If we're using sex as a distraction, then it's the wrong use of energy. If we're using sex as, I had a friend decades and decades ago who used it as a form of revenge against women, which would stem, in my limited psychological knowledge, stemming from having resentment towards his mother and feeling that he needed to, and he told me this, he needed to sleep with as many women as he could. Didn't want to be with them afterwards. It was a form of punishment towards women. He felt, in his own words, that they owed him something. Now, why could someone of the opposite sex owe anyone anything, owe any one particular person anything? Some of these people he just met that night in a bar, and yet he felt that they owed him something. That is the wrong use of energy. So you can see why some form of celibacy in that regard would be useful in harnessing that energy. When you harness that energy, miracles of insight start to happen. You start realizing certain things about yourself and then about the world. It all starts with the self. Then we have non-greed, non-hoarding. We've talked about that before. So we've covered all of those five. We've covered all of the five yamas. And then the niyamas, which sometimes translated as like positive duties. And yes, I just said duties. The yamas are a little broader than the yamas. We have cleanliness, we have contentment, we have discipline. Hey, Duncan, how are you? We have study of the self and ancient texts. Let's say those have to be ancient texts. Let's just say texts that have specific meaning and purpose to us. And then we have surrendering to a higher being or contemplation of a higher power. That would be similar to the 12 steps in AA, that we surrender our addiction to something higher than ourselves. Who cares what that higher thing is, what we call it? My friend Duncan Walsh is here and saying hi, and he's telling me that he's good. He's asking how my shoulder is. My shoulder has been a niggling issue. Aldo is here as well. Crusade Motivation. Good afternoon, my friend. My shoulder's feeling pretty good, Duncan. It's generally my left shoulder that has some issues. Has limited range of motion, in some movements. Not always painful, just sort of stiff, unyielding. But my right shoulder, because of some of those really high rep sets, longer, 40 minutes, did a couple 50-minute sets, and then combined with some dips. And I have intensified my yoga practice as I'm doing a yoga asana practice, as I'm doing a certification process. So I'm doing some moves that are a little more shoulder intensive on top of all that. And the icing helped a lot. It's probably, so that affected my right shoulder, which I'm not used to ever having any trouble with. Plus, I'm old. That's, I got to face the issue face to face. I'm not a young man anymore. I feel young, I wake up young, but, a few reps in and you realize, whatever. I generally feel good all day, but every once in a while. Aldo is saying that he's going through some shoulder issues too. Um, AC joint separation. Wow. Lewis is here. It is what it is. So we got a pretty good crowd happening today. Aldo says that you are a young buck, Eric. Man, I haven't been a young buck in 30 years. But you know what? I'm not complaining. I'm blessed. I am able to get up in the morning, physically do everything I want to do. I feel right now that I could train if I wanted to, if I wanted to go in that direction. I could train and do another 100-mile race if I wanted to. I feel like within a month, I could be ready to do a 50K. You know, life's pretty good. I'm not complaining. When I was a kid, 58 seemed old. Now I'm 58, and you know, as I mentioned before in some of my talks, I didn't finish my first 100-mile race until I was 50 years old. It took me, I finished it on my 4th attempt. So I had trained for about 3 years in a row. My first 50K, I dropped at mile 66. I recovered pretty quickly. I was running the next day. I've always trained every day. And I thought, you know what? It was in April. I thought I could be ready to give another attempt by June. And I entered a race. I got another 60 miles before I dropped. The problem was that second race, incredibly hilly. My first race was flat. The second one was hilly, and it beat me up pretty bad. I had another attempt that I didn't make, and then in that 4th one, that was a charm. 2 weeks after my 50th birthday, and I got it. Barefoot Burpees is here. Hey, Barefoot, how are you? So this is the training crowd here. These are the people you want to talk to. Top minds and performances in the burpee community. If we were to throw in 3-4 more people, we'd have it all. We'd have every single high member of that burpee community, fitness community, here to distill their thoughts, their knowledges, their information. So I came here actually thinking I would talk mainly about yoga. But man, with all you guys here, we need to open it up, talk about everything. Barefoot says that he's good. Acquired a yoga stool that helps do the inversions. I want to get one of those. And so far, it's really helping my lower back, doing inverted leg raises. There is absolutely nothing in the world better than inversions. It's a life-changing move, not just physically, not just glandularly for the glands, for the back, for the muscle, but for getting blood flow through the brain, but to change your perspective of the world. Lowers your blood pressure. Man, I can't say enough. Otto says, not me. I suck at burpees. Shout out to all you burpee heads. Breakfast says it's good. Get one. I think I am, actually. Because headstands, shoulder stands are great for me. Headstands have always been an issue for me. Breakfast says it takes all the pressure off the skull and neck so you can rep out. Nice. I'd like to just hang out. Don't even need to do reps. Just hang out overhead. All the pressure goes through the shoulders and the hands. Aldo says that inversion tables are amazing. One of the best investments ever. I agree. Barefoot says he has gravity boots for over 2 decades. I like the gravity boots too. I never had any, but there was some at the gym, and I would occasionally hang out upside down. But this tool is better, is what Barefoot Burpees thinks. I should do a comparison online and see. I like the stool, the ones that I've seen actually. Um, I've been working a little bit more because of the class that I'm doing on my headstands, and I'll be honest with you, I don't like them. I don't like the pressure on my neck, and I think you can get all the benefits of a headstand from doing shoulder stands, and I'm very comfortable in a shoulder stand. I can hold it indefinitely. I see little need, other than the fact that I'm supposed to do one for this class. I feel little need to actually do or master a headstand. Having said that, if I was better at them, maybe I would have a different opinion. Um, Lewis was asking if there's a heat wave over where you guys are. It's freaking hell here right now. You're out in California. We're actually doing pretty good. We had lots of heat waves this summer, and that mid-Atlantic humidity as well. But the last 3 or 4 days, it's been pretty cool, relatively. Low 80s, which isn't too bad. Barefoot is saying that it's really cold in the UK, like 15 degrees Celsius. How much lower is that on the average? I mean, you and I have talked about this before. Most Europeans don't even have air conditioning because there was little need up until just a few years ago. Otto's saying that he just started using the boots. Powerful too. Yeah, there is something about hanging out upside down. My friend Destiny Forever Walks, PhD is here. Grand day and blessings, Urban Cardi. Thank you, Destiny. Thank you very much. I'm sure everyone here knows Destiny. If not, check out her channel and check her out on the Dancercise on her treadmill, which not only is it just amazing to watch, a joyful experience seeing someone who has so much love and joy for what they're doing. It's infectious. And I just wanted to say that word, infectious, to see if I could get it out without messing it up. And I did. But it's also, in my opinion, for what it's worth, it's an art form. Watching Destiny do that is she's doing her art. She's expressing herself from the heart. It is absolutely amazing to watch. Duncan is saying that the UK is coolish, though. Aldo says Earth at forever changing place. Sorry. Barefoot is saying that not here, but we do have warmer last week. Barefoot, Burpee, and Duncan are in the UK. Obviously, different parts of the UK. Well, you guys turn the heat on in the summer, is what Barefoot was saying. Yeah, that is definitely on the cool side. Duncan Walsh has a riddle. If interested, let's hear it. I can't promise that I have any answers. My mind itself seems somewhat of a riddle. So arriving at an endpoint never seems to happen to me. So here's the riddle at the beginning. There are two doors. One leads to heaven, one leads to hell. Each door has a guardian of the door. One guardian always tells the truth. One always lies. You have one question to find out which is the door to heaven. So I'm going to do my best to think of this. as a true riddle and not get philosophical on it. To ask either guardian, one question. So we can ask either guardian one question. So is it for, so you can only ask one question, is what Duncan is saying. Destiny says that, Eric McCarty, you are in sync with my energy and my inner being. Thanks for expressing so well what I do in my Dancercise vids, which is my expression of who I am, and that is healing therapy for me. Obviously so, Destiny. You know, again, you're just, I look at it and all I can think of is this is your art form. You've made it personal. I've seen, you know, other people dance and move on a treadmill before, and it's fun to watch, but you are clearly expressing it, your innermost being as a form of art. For me, it's like watching, it would be like watching Picasso, Jackson Pollock. You are watching you is like listening to jazz. So Duncan says, don't want to stop the flow of stream, but want to think about. Mocha McCarty says, the OK Go video. Yes, those guys on the treadmill. Mocha, if you get a chance, I'll send you something. Destiny Forever Walks is doing her, she calls it Dancercise on a treadmill, and it's just a clear expression of joy. So Duncan, we can only ask one question, and the two guardians, one is a always tells the truth, and the other lies. What would that one question be? I've definitely got to think about that. That is a, as I mentioned before, my mind often seems to exist in a riddle. So it would be, it's difficult for me to think of an answer instead of just being happy with the riddle itself. It is what it is, says that Destiny's video is a breath of fresh air, for sure. Yep, absolutely. Duncan says he thinks a very interesting future video would be to running through your selection of books. Man, this is, you're seeing the books behind me. Then I don't know if you can see, I got another full bookshelf there. And this is just another room. The room next door is even filled with more books. And then what this was my dad's house. His room was filled with books. The basement, Mocha can vouch for that. The house is filled with books. I come from a family of readers. What I'd love to do, if my house wasn't so messy, I would do a book tour and work with the books. As Mocha says, you don't have enough time for that. There is definitely a lot of books. Mocha says there are more, or videos, plural, is what Duncan's saying. Mocha says there are more books than bricks. True. Very true. I could easily say all the books that you see in this room have been read. Maybe I've missed one or two. I doubt it. The room next door, I have 3 different piles, literally piles of books that are on my to read, and they just keep adding up. Mocha says, honestly, if you remove the books, the house might collapse. This is probably so. Duncan, I'm going to give this riddle some thought to do it justice. I'm also, what I find that two things. If I think about it before I go to bed, if I think about something before I go to bed that I want an answer to, that I would like to have an answer to, I can wake up with something in mind. Three ways I do this. If I think about it before I go for a walk out in nature and then put it out of my mind the best that I can, oftentimes later in the day, it'll just something, an insight. It's a great thing about a riddle. I'm not sure if there's an actual answer or if there's an insight that you get. Or if I think about it before I go to bed and I wake up in the morning and there is an answer right there. Destiny says that it is what it is. I appreciate the inspiring, kind remarks. Thank you. May many blessings, favor, and genuine love always be poured out into your life. God is gracious and a giver. I agree. Barefoot Berkeley says, Duncan, I don't know about the door, but to find out you're telling the truth, ask something you know the answer to, like, have I got brown hair? Interesting. And it is what it is, says God is great. Destiny, thank you very much, sister. And Duncan is saying, no, that's not it, as far as the answer about the brown hair. Probably the best way to approach any riddle is at first dismiss the obvious. You might want to return back to the obvious, but I think you got to get your mind in that outside the ordinary, which is why sometimes those insights come in those odd times, just waking up or out of the blue. I find that it's not often that I struggle to write, but if I do, there's no sense struggling. Put it aside, step aside, go for the walk. When I come back, there's always an insight that I can add to what I'm writing, and it sets off a whole nother writing spree. Aldo is still thinking what he would ask. Duncan says that you would still not know which is the door to heaven. That's true. Burford said, did he say one question or multiple? It was just one question. One question to either. You see, now it would be easy for me to get philosophical in my approach to heaven and hell. Burford is saying that nothing jumps out at him. Well, that's the problem. Yeah, it's just a conundrum, if I can say that right. Aldo says that he would ask, where does God live? But of course, if one of them is a liar, one of them tells the truth. Duncan says it's logical, not philosophical. Yeah, that's where I run into trouble. As soon as you start getting logical. That's what I was thinking, Barefoot, because he's saying, but could still be a lie or truth. Duncan said, hey, Eric, how about a video book review? I've thought about that. What I'd like to do sometime, and I've mentioned this to Aldo, get together with him online, and him and I would do a book discussion. And actually, each and every one of you, I'd like to get online for a discussion about multiple things, all kinds of stuff. The information in this group alone would be phenomenal. Duncan is saying that one always lies, one always tells the truth, but you don't know which one, which does change things. Otto, you just let me know um, what day or time, or generally I come right around this time every day. So whenever you have free and you want to schedule, we do an hour. Um, but yeah, actually, I like the idea of doing book reviews. That's a good idea, Duncan. Buffer says you can't command them, otherwise, say, go through the door and have a sneaky look behind. I think that would probably be cheating. You could try it. Duncan is saying, what book would you start with? The Art of War? You know what? I flipped that around. If you are familiar with, and I know Aldo is, or I believe he is, Stephen Pressfield, great writer. He wrote a book late 90s. I think I might have read it in 98 or 99. The War of Art. Obviously, he flipped it around, a play of words. And it is about our approach to art as life. What does an artist do? His answer to that: an artist performs their art, their practice, every single day. You don't make excuses. You don't wait to be inspired. You show up at your desk every day and you write. You show up at your easel every day and you paint. You show up and you sculpt. It is what it is, says whatever Thor he says, just go with the other one. Hey, that's a pretty good answer. Mocha says Duncan has a good idea about the book review. I agree. Absolutely, Mocha. Barefoot Burpee says it might be the truth guy. See, this is where, you all of a sudden you think, this guy's got a good idea. And then someone comes out a little more logical and like Barefoot and says it might be the truth guy, though. Aldo says that I know that book. I love that book. I live that book. Yeah, it just, that's an Aldo book. I was almost certain that you had read it. And I believe we've actually talked about it a little bit. But you know what? This is where with Destiny comes in, talking about art on the treadmill. That's her art form. That's her thing. She puts her heart into it. She puts her soul into it. And you see it when she's doing it. And how you can, she told me that she has haters show up on her channel. How can anyone look at that and not think, this is someone who is giving pure joy to the world? More importantly, pure joy to herself. And it's infectious, to use that word again. You just can't help but smile when you see it and feel touched by the fact that this person is sharing the art with everyone. It is what it is. Let's see. Destiny says, sorry, I have no answer to the question. I'm not the best at figuring out riddles. Neither am I, actually. Aldo says, I draw every morning as part of my routine. I write every morning, part of my routine. I read The War of Art again in 1999, and that statement, when he said, a writer writes every day, doesn't make excuses, doesn't wait to be inspired. I decided to write every day, and I haven't missed a single day of writing in, 24, 25 years now. And every morning I'm inspired. There's always something that inspires you. Look outside. If you can't be inspired by trees, by birds, by clouds, by the sun, by the sky itself, by every little aspect of everything that you're looking at, if you look inside, and I got a cat laying here on the floor looking up at me, life is giving you inspiration every single moment. Inspiration, in spirit, inspire. It's all there in that one word. So we live our lives. Watch any Jose of Motivation video, and you see someone who's inspired. Watch Barefoot Burpees outside, getting his work in on the rings. There's somebody who's in tune with nature. They know they belong there. Barefoot Burpees was meant to hang from trees. It's just clear that he's in his element. If you watch Lewis on his deck outside, no matter the condition, no matter how hot, getting the work in, it's a guy that's inspired. He's inspired to move. Same with Duncan. Duncan, one of the most explosive people that I watch in a video. It's just power is what you're seeing. Destiny is asking Barefoot Burpees, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. He was on holiday for a little bit, Destiny. Jose says, agree, we're all artists. Barefoot says, does riddle stump me? It stumped me too, actually. I'm hoping before we end the conversation that Duncan's just going to say, all right, I'm going to give it to you. Although Barefoot says it's a logic puzzle through more than a riddle. Duncan says, how about I reveal the answer tomorrow? We can work with that. Give me a night. Give me a night to have it run through my mind. I'm not going to say that I'll have an answer, but Destiny is stumped in the riddle too. Aldo says 25 years. Well, you know what? When you're inspired, Aldo, years don't count. Every single day that I've written has been one of true joy. If you can look up my blog, headlessnail.com. I never remember to post a link. I should. Anyone who's here, who's on Facebook, I know probably most of you aren't. I post my stuff on Facebook every day as well. And it's everything I write about is just my own observation of life and, meditation, nature, breath work, yoga, philosophical thoughts that just pop in my head. Let's see. Duncan is asking Barefoot if he finds it easier to walk on his hands than remain stationary. Man, he is definitely someone who has an agile plane of existence. He seems as comfortable upside down as he is standing. Duncan says he's been, it is what it is, says he's been doing Duncan's stomach crunches. And loves them better than my regular crunches. And again, even his crunches are explosive. He just doesn't do a crunch, a static crunch. He's doing an explosive crunch, which is why he has six-pack etched in stone, it looks like. Aldo says all artists, and I absolutely agree. We're either all artists, or some of us are frustrated artists who haven't found their medium yet. And that's one of my favorite things to write about, is that I think the medium finds us. We just need to be open to it and explore. You know, we think we need to be good at something in our own judgment or the judgment of others for it to be an acceptable art form. Art is meant for us, and then we share. And we share for the pleasure of sharing. No other. We're not looking for a pat on the back. We're not looking for grades. We're not looking for accolades. We are making sure I said that right. We are sharing the thing that brought us the most joy, and it just feels natural to share. Which is why it's always so heartbreaking when you have someone who's just hating for the sake of hate, because they haven't found their own thing yet. And yet it's available to them. They just open up. So yeah, Otto, I agree 100%. One day I need to save up enough money and fly to Nebraska. It is Nebraska, right? And get an Aldo original tattoo. And you know what? I wouldn't even have anything in mind. I would say, you know what? This spot on my arm or on my shoulder or on my back is reserved for your art. You tell your story right here. I think Mocha would be up for a trip to Nebraska to get a tattoo as well. Mocha actually has more tattoos than I do. Barefoot Burpee says that his handstand stuff ain't that hot, but definitely always had an affinity to trees. Tree climbing, ropes, all that stuff since childhood. Yeah, for me as well, always felt comfortable amongst trees, climbing, even just sitting next to a tree. I never understood why using the term tree hugger was supposed to be a derogatory. I have stopped in races to put my hands on trees, to just feel that energy, to give that boost, and also maybe to give a little bit something back to the trees themselves. Barefoot says that he doesn't Duncan reveal. We don't know the answer, and the Guardians won't wait. I wouldn't mind. I'm going to leave it up to Duncan. If he wants to wait until tomorrow, maybe he can. If he has time tomorrow, maybe we can try to do our video chat again, and he can join me for this, and we'll see if he'll reveal it to everyone tomorrow. Barefoot says extra banana tomorrow if you get it. Get it? I can tell you now, it's probably not going to. I think Duncan will reveal it, and we'll all slap ourselves in the head and say, it seems pretty obvious. Let's see. Barefoot says that he walked about 6 steps on his hands only. I was attempting handstands for a while, and the amount of skill was taking more time away from other stuff. Probably a sorry excuse just not to give it that time, but it wasn't quite as important to me. Maybe one day. It seems to be something that would be quite an accomplishment to do in your 70s. So that means I have 12 more years to put it off, at least. Duncan says, up to you guys. Reveal now or tomorrow. BB and my biceps video, a guy walking his hands. I saw that. I saw him in front of the camera. His legs are straight, but knee to feet sort of bent over a little bit. I think that's mostly for balance when people are doing that. But I could be mistaken. Barefoot would know. Barefoot, I'll leave it up to you if you want the answer today or tomorrow. I'm probably going to say goodbye in about 5 minutes. We'll wind things down. So if Barefoot wants the answer in about 5 minutes, we'll close the talk today with the big reveal. Uh, Aldo saying, yeah, Nebraska, agree. My art craft found me. Never thought I would be what I am. Some of my favorite artists are tattoo artists. Um, just such a beautiful medium that you get to give somebody something that has such meaning to them. Doesn't matter what the tattoo is. Doesn't matter if I look at it and say, why would you get that? None of that matters. It has meaning to the person that's getting it. Meaning so deep that they want it on their skin. And they're trusting you. Putting that faith in your skill, your touch, and saying, take this meaningful thing, this meaningful symbol. And, you know, Carl Jung talks about symbols. Freud talked about symbols. Joseph Campbell, entire book on symbols. Um, it's even beyond what we can recognize. It's deep in the psyche. So to trust someone to take that symbol and put it on my flesh is like the ultimate act of, I trust your artistic capabilities so deeply that I want you to work with it. All it says would be an honor. I'm missing some questions up above, so I apologize, or some comments. Um, good lighting helps for the abs, is what Duncan's saying. Yeah, good lighting definitely helps. Sometimes in the morning, you know, I get up a little dehydrated because you've been asleep through the night. The sun's coming in the window. Not often, as I'm usually up at about 3:30. You stretch just a little bit, lights just right, and I think, all right, I see my abs. By afternoon, they're gone. By the time later in the morning when I put the camera for my burpee video, they're gone. They've disappeared. Although saying handstand walking, one of the hardest moves ever. Shout out to Barefoot. Yeah. Although I think walking might be easier than standing static for a length of time. But again, I could be wrong in that. And I always defer to someone like Barefoot who's definitely got more experience. Destiny is saying that that's a great way, Duncan Walsh Fitness motivation to exercise the mind and brain by making us think. Yeah, I used to always get resentful for anyone who made me think too much. And now I appreciate a good riddle. Definitely keeps the mind flexible. Barefoot says that good handstand walking looks amazing. Mine looks more like Laurel and Hardy accident sketch. I don't know. I've seen you walk. You definitely see the skill. I definitely see the skill. And Duncan agrees with Destiny. Duncan says his handstand would be mistaken as a form of burpees. Barefoot says some I Ching tattoos would be good. They would be, actually. Alda says it is. It's spiritual. You'll be thinking through the night, says Duncan. Barefoot Burpee says tattoos are powerful talisman. Yes. Yes, they are. I got a Druid rune, my very first tattoo on my arm, which is supposed to symbolize divine love. And Barefoot says they found tattoos on ancient as healing talis talismanic. Making sure I said that right. Symbols over wounds. Destiny says that, thank you for another discussion and fellowship, Eric. You know what? Well, you're welcome. And I'll finish reading your comment in a second. I just want to say I love that word. I love that term, fellowship. And that really describes perfectly what I'd like to get in these discussions. Just throwing things out there, everyone going back and forth. Doesn't have to have any rhyme or reason other than fellowship, discussion, conversation. And she goes on to say that I always get a lot of love here. Always get love here. You are awesome and beautiful soul. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It is what it is making a confession that he had a hot fudge sundae and an apple pie last night. Not only that, you did a cookie review just a couple days ago. However, there's absolutely no one who works harder than Lewis of It Is What It Is. So if anyone deserves that, especially 2 days ago, 500 plus 5-pump burpees, man, you're fueling the fire. So don't think of it as a cheap meal. You're fueling the fire. Duncan says, if the riddle scenario happened in reality in the future, we would be desperately trying to remember what was it that Duncan said. This is true. You know, and something might happen tonight, and that scenario might occur before the morning, and I have no possible way of answering. Of course, sometimes in moments of desperation, the answer does come to us. It actually reminds me of the Katha Upanishad, which is the ancient Vedic text dealing with death, where a young boy gives himself to death as sort of an out of spite argument with his father. And when he is there, he decides to ask death the true meaning of life, the true meaning of self. Who and what is the self? And death tries to find a way out of it, but he's bound to answer the question if it is stuck with it. It's a short little story. It is worth looking at, the Katha Upanishad, an ancient story. Let's see, where have I left off? But for purposes of saying he's going to try and work on walking, I generally build out, but I could easily try walking instead. I wonder if it's easier to stand still or if it's easier to walk. It seems it might be easier to walk for balance, but again, I could be mistaken. For me, it's easier up against a wall. That tells you my skill level right there. Duncan is all forgiving, telling it is what it is, that at least he satisfied his taste buds. Now don't do it again. Duncan Walsh is also saying Fellowship of the Rings, Tolkien. Yes. I absolutely love that. Just that term, fellowship. It is what it is, saying, dang it, Eric, you're right about that. Man, you just got to reframe it. It could be junk food, cheap meal, horrible for you. But that's only if you didn't do anything. You did 500 5-pump burpees. You know, this is why, you know, at an aid station in a 100-mile race, you don't ask someone how many calories does this have. Is this going to make me fat? Is this bad for my cholesterol? You just shovel the food down. All right, I think Barefoot Burpees nailed it. The answer, can you summon Duncan to walk through the door with me? Yes or no? Maybe they'll grant me the wish. Phrased as a question. That would be my first question. Can Duncan go first? Destiny says it is what it is. Eric is right about that. You deserve that treat for working out so hard. Pamper yourself every now and then. You did good. Yes. He put in the work. Barefoot says he doesn't know, Eric. This is about in regards to the handstand. Because the mind wants to try and hold the posture. It requires a bit of a change in a mental approach. Yeah, I can see that. Barefoot says that 2,500 pumps is probably 1,000 calories burned. Yeah, easily so. Yeah, that's, and not just through that. I mean, it was a hot day, and Lewis is a very dynamic burpee. You know, he's really explosive. He's doing the running man, so easily at the least amount, that was probably 1,000. So the 1,000 calories burned takes care of the ice cream sundae. You're gonna have to do another 500 5 pumps to take care of the apple pie. I think. I'm sorry, man. I got to put it out there. Aldo saying shout out to It Is What It Is for 500 5 pumps. Amazing. Yeah, that was him and Unk. Absolutely amazing. All right, guys. So I'm going to end the conversation now. This is our last chance. It is up to you guys if you want the answer from Duncan or if you want to wait until tomorrow. Destiny's saying she has to go now. We're under hurricane watch at the moment. Yeah, I guess you're in Florida. I'm sorry. Be careful and stay safe. I hope this one doesn't turn out to be as bad as some of the ones in the past. And Aldo is offering prayers to Destiny. Yes, definitely, all prayers. So let's do the big reveal tomorrow. For those who can join in. Burford says Donkey being pushed forward by us a lot. Destiny says that she will be safe, and thanks. It's getting pitch black here. Yeah, Florida is so often hard hit. Beautiful state. This is a rough time of year. Rough time of year for them. Duncan says he will be here unless I am the guardian that lies. Uh-oh. Barefoot says, thanks, Eric. You're a great host. Thank you, Barefoot. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you all stopping by. So thank you. Aldo, It Is What It Is. Duncan, Destiny, Mocha, Barefoot. You are the guys that make the conversation what it is. Very much appreciated. Duncan, I really appreciate the thought of the book review, and I think I might actually even start that tomorrow. Inspired by our conversation, with that book on the Katha Upanishad, book on death. So let's leave it with that, guys. Tomorrow is the big reveal for Duncan's riddle, so stay tuned. Going to shoot for about 1 o'clock, and then we'll give it a little bit longer for some people to show up. And if someone doesn't make it, maybe we can put the answer to the riddle in the comment section so they don't have to watch the whole thing. Thank you, guys. Take care.